Good. All right. Everyone's ready?
Yeah. As ready as I'll be.
Okay, bro. Before we start, I'm gonna do like a trademark ad. Actually, I'm gonna let you do it. So I'm gonna like do it like that, and you can just like tell what trademark is over the beat a little bit. It's like 10 to 15 seconds, man. Just to like shout out trademark.
Is that the first outtake or last?
It'll be at like, I'll tell you. It'll be at like 20 minutes. And you want to shout out Goodyear?
No. They already owe me money, so.
Nah, give me my money.
You can shout them out on that.
Would you want to shout out the ladder?
I'll shout
Do like an ad for the ladder?
I'll do the ladder.
Yeah,
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. So we'll do it at like 20 minutes. I'll let you know, and we'll do yours at like 40 minutes.
That's cool.
And then it'll be just like that, like right over the beat, and I'll turn the beat down and let you like talk over the beat.
All right, bet.
But all right, let me make sure everybody mic is queued up. So just go ahead and like say something into the mic.
Something into the mic.
Bumba clap.
Boomba clots. All right, y'all ready? All right, rolling. Here we go. Okay, wait. Catch you on the rebound.
Hey.
Yes, sir. Jordan Tolbert in the mix.
Sir.
What else we got up in here?
We got Mr. Andrew Powell.
Yes, sir.
You got your boy James Sharpe.
James Sharpe, man. Give my boy a round of applause. Appreciate AP being here today. James Sharpe in the building.
What's up, my guy?
Shout out All Saints.
Yeah, man. We go way back, huh?
Shout out Dartmouth.
Come on.
Hey, man. You got a natty from Dartmouth?
Yeah, in college I played rugby randomly my sophomore year. I was able to be on the team that won the national championship. Kind of cool.
Doesn't sound random to me.
All right.
I mean, I'm a Texas boy. Went to high school with JT. Never played rugby, so why am I playing rugby? That's why it's kind of random.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just actually walked on the team my sophomore year. They won my freshman year.
Wow.
I saw them playing on TV, and I thought it was pretty cool. So decided to try to walk on, and then they won back to back. So
Wow.
As a walk-on.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Not bad, bro.
Check the
Yeah,
stats.
man.
My team winning.
Hey, you're a cum laude at All Saints?
Yeah, magna cum laude. Actually, summa cum
Excuse
laude.
me, magna cum laude.
Nah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. I hit the books, hit the bugs. What? Play some sports. Try to stay out of trouble. You know.
For sure.
This guy with this guy.
Hey, for real, man. And you did, yo. And yeah, like I said, we went to school together, bro. Like, you was always doing things right, bro. Like, regardless of all the extracurricular bullshit, you know, that goes on, like, you was always, like, definitely, like, if anything, bro, like a role model, you know what I'm saying? Somebody to, like, go to college, do everything right, you know, just get it done, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I'm proud of the fact that we was able to, like, stay friends throughout this whole time, bro. And, like, when I was trying to fix my relationship with, like, God and just my life, bro, like, y'all was there. Like, y'all had always been there, you know what I'm saying? And just be able to go to, like, True Group and be able to go with the ladder and like link back up with Andrew, having seen him, and I don't think we knew each other at Tech, but it's just ironic how we just linked back up out here, and now we like all three here together.
Yeah, man, like you were saying, it's a journey, right? I mean, you just working on your relationship, the ladder. I mean, I don't know if y'all talk about the top of the ladder. I've never been, but the ladder got a lot of rungs, right? So it's just a track that's up in the air, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, just keep on keeping on at the end of the day.
Taking those steps, man.
Exactly. It's a journey, man. It's a journey.
Yeah. So talk to us about, we'll start off with the mental health stuff to go ahead and get it out the way.
Yeah, man.
That way we can talk about the good stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talk to us about like your mental health.
Yeah,
and
mental
everything,
health.
the stuff that you've dealt with.
I just wanted to be a conversation, but I think, like, I love what you're doing, bringing awareness to mental health. I think it's a taboo subject in most circles, but especially in the black male demographic that we both, all three of ourselves, find ourselves in, right? So with that in mind, I mean, I think this is just great to just have conversation like we're going to sit down and just talk about what things mean to us and what things should mean to us and kind of what things shouldn't mean to us, so on and so forth. But, I mean, as far as mental health, bro, I think it's all about kind of what you think matters. And I know you and I have talked about this before.
Discussed this with Gary.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, what matters to you, right? Because some people, you know, I think I talked to you about this, but I mean, Andrew, you know, what fears are you born with? You're only born with 2 fears. You know what those are? Okay, so it's the fear of falling is one of them.
I can
Right.
definitely see that.
Right? So whenever you're a baby, you're not afraid of spiders, right? You have to be taught to be afraid of spiders because they have poison. When you're a baby, you're not necessarily afraid of snakes, right? You have to be taught to be afraid of snakes. Some people can walk up to a spider, grab the spider, and not be. Some people see a spider and have to run out the room, get out the building. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just about awareness, right? So you want the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises, right? But everything else is kind of a learned fear
behavior.
or a learned behavior, and it's all survival ridden, right? I mean, the only reason why we're afraid of snakes and we're afraid of certain animals is because they can hinder our survival, or they can come after us and attack us.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the world we live in today, we ain't living in caves, so we're not worried about wolves. But if you see a wolf, you you'd be worried about that, right? But then
Going the other way.
yeah, but then you got people out in safaris, and there's animals that are kind of domesticated but wild. They can be with them. So it's just, I mean, what are you aware about? What matters to you, right? So
Yeah.
as far as mental health, I mean, I was just thinking about it, and you know how like they have those people those crime shows, right? And so me, you, and Andrew are all sitting outside in the parking lot, and we all see something that happened. It's a crime, right? Cops pull up, and then they ask Jordan, then they ask Andrew, and then they ask me.
Okay.
And we all saw the exact same event, right? But we all had different perspectives on it. Right?
Yeah.
Because my guy over here is 6'9", right? So he got a different perspective just from his height, you know. But I mean, that was just a joke. But at the end of the day,
It's true.
we all have very different perceptions of exactly what happened.
True.
So that's why sometimes the police officers have to say, "Oh, that eyewitness account isn't as verifiable as this one," right? And so it's just like,
Because I'm going to say nothing.
I ain't see nothing.
turn the other way, right? But all I'm saying is, I mean, we can all experience the exact same thing. Some people will have, I mean, it's tragic, but some people have a spouse pass away, or they'll have a parent pass away, or a child pass away. And then some people deal with it differently, right?
That's true.
But it's because of what they thought mattered. Some people had a bad relationship with their dad or whatever, right? So when their dad dies, they don't care at all, right? Whereas some people, their dad is the rock, their dad's the foundation. And if you take away that foundation, right? And so it's just, to me, what do you kind of put as your foundation, right? Because if something happens, you know, like some people have a dog that'll die, and then that just wrecks their world for
You're right.
however long, right?
You're right.
And it's
You're
because their dog is one of their foundational pillars, right? And so you knock that out, just like a building, you knock down the foundation. That's how you knock the building down, right? If you knock down the top level, the building's still gonna be there. If you knock down the second to top level, the building's still gonna be there. You see what I'm saying?
It's true.
So it's like, how do you orient yourself, and what do you put as your foundation, right? And so to me, it really should only be what you can control, bro, right? And like, what kind of stuff can you control, bro? You work at Goodyear, right? And you can control kind of your money, right? But what if Goodyear goes bankrupt? Just Goodyear itself goes bankrupt. You now can't necessarily control your money. You got to go get a whole new job, right? And I'm not saying that that's gonna happen. You know, that's exactly,
right.
exactly. But all I'm saying is, like, you control your money. You control you getting to Goodyear. You control you putting in the work to thrive and survive and thrive and like do everything that you can, right? But at the end of the day, you really can't even control Goodyear, your employer, right?
Right.
So if somebody knocks out Goodyear and you ascribe your whole identity to Goodyear, then now they just wiped out part of your identity. Right? They wiped out that foundation. So you shouldn't, to me, put things that you can't control as a foundational pillar.
Especially as men, you know, because we relate a lot of our value to like what our job is,
Oh,
or
my
you know,
gosh.
what our profession is, and like
Oh,
you
my
know,
God,
that's how we
yeah.
walk around with pride, is what we do, you know. That's like our branding, a part of it, you know. So
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
definitely take that. And I think the biggest thing, man, even me being older now, is just like trying to control what I can and let what I can't go. It's almost like
Exactly.
accepting who you are, right? Like, all right, I'm bald. if I was really upset about that,
Right.
I'd have a hard life.
Yeah,
because
you'd be walking
yeah.
around thinking people are in your head, you're thinking what they're thinking about you. But at the end of the day, I'm not even thinking about anything.
Exactly. If that was something I was like hard on, cause I went bald when I was like, so I shaved my hair. I was like 22.
Okay.
So if that was hard for me, it'd
Exactly.
be a hard life.
Yeah, you got a lot
You
of
know what
life
I
to
mean?
live, man.
A lot of life to live.
Yeah.
Right.
I heard someone say, like, people ask you, like, what do you do for a living? And they equate that to, like, how much respect they're going to give you.
Oh, most definitely.
I think that's
Shout out to the
bullshit.
baldy too, but yeah.
Shout out to the, you say what?
I said shout to the baldy too. You know?
To the ball community, hey. Make some noise for the ball community. Yeah, I went ball one time, yo. I went ball one time. I was in Italy, man. I was trying to line myself up. Fuck my shit up. So I had to chop it all off, yo. You know what I mean?
I definitely think that's true, though, JT. The people,
What is that?
People see you or ask you kind of what you do.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a measurement of you, right? I mean, it's that blink reaction. You know Malcolm Gladwell, you talked about that. He writes the book Blink. You know, your first interaction with someone you really can gain, or like your blink reaction to someone is how you truly going to treat that person, right? If you meet them and they cut you off, right? You're just going to associate that person as kind of like an asshole. Like, this person just cut me off, and they're an asshole. And then you might end up unraveling and then knowing that Andrew's actually not an asshole. He just cut me off. We're both going to the same place. You know what I'm saying? But imagine if you rushing here, I'm rushing here, and you don't care about me. You just cut me off. But then we end up in the same building sitting across from each other.
On a podcast. So you know,
It's like, that's you.
Yeah, exactly. But that's just my first reaction. And a lot of times in those first reactions, we think that we can ascribe someone's identity to what they do.
True.
That you spend your time 9 to 5, but there's a whole 5 to 9 that you have outside of that 9 to 5.
And that's funny because one of my homeboys used to always tell me, hey, man, you need to, like, talk up your job a little more. What you do is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, like, I think I subconsciously would always talk down my job. Not that I do anything crazy, first of all, right? But I'd always talk it down because I didn't want somebody to have this, like, false friendship or, like, talk to me a certain way or want to be cool with me because of what I do. That has nothing to do with who I am or principles, what I do, etc.
Oh, my gosh, bro. Like, that's my problem is I went to Dartmouth, right? So people will say, oh, you went to Dartmouth. Oh, you're smart. Oh, you're. So then that means they're kind of telling other people that didn't go to Dartmouth, oh, you're not as smart.
Like me.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not. And you can, bro, your IQ could be way, your IQ could be way above mine. Yeah. And I went to Dartmouth with the kids that I didn't necessarily think deserved to be there. I'm sure they're kids that were there with me that were wondering, how did James get here? But at the end of the day, people now identify me as this Ivy League grad, this. But to me, that is a part of my history. But I mean, I got into Dartmouth when I was 17 based on that SAT score.
You got in at 17?
Well, I mean, I was a senior year in high school. Senior year in high school. I was 17 at the time. Yeah. But it's like based on stuff that I did when I was 17, 15, 13. Yeah. Like when I was in high school, my freshman year, my resume was based on like my freshman year GPA all the way through magna cum laude. That was when I was 14 years young. Yeah. So I just happened to have parents that put me on the right place at the right time, gave me the right guidance, the right discipline, the right parameters for me to succeed. So I had nothing to do. But I mean, it's like if you have an orange seed, right, and you put it in light, you give it dirt, and you put it in a position to seed, it's going to become an orange. It can never become a lemon, right? So at the end of the day, like if you put someone where they should be and give them all the tools to succeed, I feel like they will.
Yeah, that was a Dartmouth quality analogy.
Yo, all his answers are, bro. Yo, tell us, all right, man. So, like, tell us about like your upbringing, man. Like most kids play sports, stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about what you did.
Oh man, I mean, just like I said, I mean, my parents just instilled discipline, man. So both my parents are both educators.
Shout out to James and Juanita.
Yeah, James and Juanita, real ones. But yeah, I mean, both of them were teachers. My dad ended up transitioning into pharmaceuticals. He's a pharmaceutical salesman now. My mom's a teacher, but they were both also youth pastors. So basically, they were kind of like everybody else's mom, everybody else's dad. You know, it was a pretty big church, mainly African American. A lot of these kids were single kids that had a single mother or a single father. So they didn't necessarily have the affirmation from both the male and the female figures, right? So in a lot of times, they would come to church and see the stability that my parents necessarily provided, right? Yeah. And then they would kind of look up to my dad as their dad because they never had a dad. They would look up to my mom as their mom because their mom passed whenever they were however young, right? But basically, my parents were just like parents to everybody. Yeah. So it was always like I was sharing my parents, so to speak. But in a way, that's a good thing. But I mean, they were just super disciplined, man. I mean, waking up, I ran cross country, ran track all year round, did all types of sports, stayed involved in all types of extracurriculars. Was in the chess club. Actually, when I was in my sophomore year, I skipped a basketball tournament. I don't know if you remember that. I remember. I skipped a basketball tournament to go to a chess tournament. Oh, wow. And my coach was pretty mad. I mean, I was a starter on the team, and I told him, hey, I got this chess tournament, and it was a state chess tournament for us to go to nationals, and then we ended up getting second at nationals, and I was on that chess team, right? When I was growing up, I was playing chess, man. I was doing like Sudoku puzzles before everybody even knew what Sudoku puzzles were, type stuff, bro. My parents just basically kept me intellectually stimulated at all times, but I also was just kind of born curious.
Genius.
I mean, I think we all are born with our own IQ, right? True. But at the end of the day, like I just stayed. I had a lot of intellectual curiosity. And my mom said I was 3 or 4 years old, walking around asking her, "What's 98 plus 98?"
Yeah,
And then
at that age.
She'd be like, okay, it's 196. And then I'd be like, 98 plus 98 is 196. 98. And then the next day I would say, Mom, what's 99 plus 98? And I didn't necessarily associate that it's just one more of it, not 190. But I just wanted to, okay, it's 197. So then I would memorize like what numbers plus numbers meant. And I was like learning how to speak.
Yeah, your parents is like, "Yep, we got this one.
We got him.
We got this one.
We got him.
Yeah, man, but they basically just put me in a position to succeed, man. Like I was talking about the plant. I mean, they just provided parameters for me to just grow and succeed. Because a lot of people are put in a place where they don't necessarily have that kind of like leisure time that's like intellectually stimulating leisure time.
Okay.
They're just getting outside and they have to come up with their own stuff. I think kids used to play.
Man.
Yeah, or survive, right?
That's true.
But I mean, nowadays we got phones, iPads. You see all these kids just being stimulated by these games on these iPads. But I mean, our generation, if you didn't have I didn't get a cell phone until like sophomore year, junior year, high school, right? So, I mean, we didn't have these distractions, and I feel like a lot of kids would engage in activities that weren't necessarily positive because their parents allowed them to, right?
You know, they always say that a shark, if you put a shark in a fish tank,
it can only grow.
It can only grow that big. If you put it in the ocean, it could be
exactly
8 feet or whatever it is, you know?
Exactly.
So,
and I mean, there's always, to me, it's nature plus nurture, right? We always talk about that. But I mean, I just had the right combination of like my genetics, my nature, and both my parents were really intelligent, but they were both first generation college students, right? But I mean, just the times, race back then, people weren't necessarily going to college, weren't even allowed to go to college type stuff. But then just the nurture, right? I mean, my parents were always there for me, right? My mom has her master's, my dad did science, so any questions I had with homework, math and science, I would go to my dad all the way through high school. I would go to my dad, and for English and history, I go to my mom. So my parents would check my homework every time. They knew when I had a quiz. They knew when I had a test. They knew everything, right? They were just overly involved. My mom was on PTA boards, always up at the school, talking to the principal, saying that she wanted to do this. My mom helped like start the gifted and talented program at my elementary school back in like 96, you know, like 97. Yeah. It was just like my mom was like, hey, my son's not stimulated enough. So like, I'm an at-home mom. I'm going to go home and be with my kids, but then like certain times during the day, I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna have these programs for all the kids that are the gifted and talented GT kids, right? So then she would take us, and then we would have extra activities and stuff. It's back in like second grade, bro, third grade. So it's just I had parents that were so involved that I had in my mind no choice but to succeed. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's. You can either succeed. We think of success as like positive or negative, right? Yeah. But to me, it's like it's for every cause there's an effect. We know that. So it's like my parents put all these causes and the effects, right? Are me now here today, right? The job that I have, the vernacular that I have, the way that I look, the way that I compose myself, the way you compose. Like your past has led you to be you right now. And some people will say like you're successful or you're not, right? And that's just a binary judgment that someone can make, right? But at the end of the day, your past is why you're here, right?
Exactly.
And so it's just the effect of my past. But you can actively influence your present and your future. You can't change your past.
Nope.
But based on your kind of, knowledge is power, and we all know it's really the application of knowledge is power, right? Because you can know
and not do.
You can know and not do, right? You can know there's a lot of dudes here. Let's just be real. They got baby mamas. They know they shouldn't be having unprotected sex. They know it. They know it. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't apply that knowledge, and now they got
that of all analogies.
I'm just saying,
baby mama. Maybe it pops. Maybe it pops. You know.
That's all I'm saying. Like they know it, but they didn't do it. You know not to drive drunk. You drive drunk, and then you get a DWI. But so it's the application of knowledge.
Discipline.
It's really discipline for sure, bro. Yeah. I think there's a sermon that was just going on. Our pastor was just talking about it, and he's talking about dedication, motivation, and consistency. And he thinks those are like the three, and he applied it. He has a whole podcast, not a podcast, but a whole sermon series about him becoming a waiver. You know what I'm talking about?
A waiver?
A waiver. So, there's like the whole waiver community. Shout out the
like with waves.
With waves, yeah. I mean, he's a waiver now. Right?
All right. Is he?
Yes. But it takes dedication, motivation, and consistency, right? And so he was just talking about how if you have those three qualities, if you apply it to becoming a waiver, you apply it to become a salesman, a basketball player, a worker at Trademark. Like, if you apply those three things, that's all it really takes, bro. You have to be dedicated, right? You have to have the motivation, because if you lose your motivation to do something, you're probably going to stop. Like, you could just stop this podcast because you lose motivation, right? You had the dedication, the consistency, but you lost the motivation, right? So if you have to have all three of those kind of in tandem to really keep up the ladder, down the path, down the railroad, whatever you want to.
I like that. He sound like Nipsey.
Bro, do be dropping gems, bro.
Nah, but let's go back to like what you can control, right? Because you're talking about mental health. What can you control? You can control your attitude, right, and your actions, right? So I could punch you right now, or I could not, right? I could punch you and you could respond, but with your action by saying, "Hey, man, like I'm not gonna punch him back." He was just making an analogy, but it really hurt me that he did that.
I could push you in the arm, you know.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So you
have it out up in the studio, like
exactly. But like you control your actions, right? Facts. So you should worry about that. That should be a foundational pillar because no one can necessarily change your actions.
And I think the crazy thing too is like when you become, maybe it's more mature, maybe you're born like that. But let's say something like that happens, and you control your actions. You have to be mature enough and like stable enough in that like when other people look at you and say, hey, you should have done something, you should have reacted different. Because the average person is gonna be like, you should have slapped him, you should have hit him back. And you got to also be like confident, being like, nah, I'm good. Even if like they're gonna be negative to you or be like, hey man, you're acting like a baby, you're acting like a whatever they want to say.
Exactly, and like the only way you can control your actions is with your attitude. Like you were just saying, right? You have to actually think about it. Okay, like when I was younger, my attitude would have been like, man, you just hurt me, I'm trying to hurt you, right? But now it's like, hey, man, this dude doesn't really know what he's doing. Instead of, I'm going to turn the other cheek, right? So to speak, right? So you can control your attitude, you can control your actions, and I think those are really all you can control, man. I love my mom, and I like, but if she's gone, that's going to be a pillar that I put down at the bottom of my building, and when she's gone, that's going to wreck my world. But I can't let that wreck my whole life, you know what I'm saying? You know, like I can't let that moment or that, like, not having her anymore, right? I can't let that, because then I won't be able to thrive anymore. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, this is all kind of backed up with scripture, and I'm not trying to Bible beat anyone, but, you know, it talks about Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of those, you know, who are called according to his purpose, right? So it's how can all things work together for the good, right? We all just seen what happened with our boy Kobe, not our boy, the person that we looked
everybody's
up to, you know? But that's what I'm saying, rest in peace, but what good can come from that, right? If you're his wife, what good can come from that? I think what's good is she wasn't necessarily on the helicopter with him, right? It wasn't their whole family. It wasn't another daughter that was with her. So she can find things that are good out of this, right? You know how many people in the black community, white community, Hispanic community have all like come together and realized, man, life is short. No matter how rich you are, no matter how famous you are, no matter how well off you are, your life can be on like that. So I think there's people all across the world that are now taking their lives and their everyday moments more seriously just because of this man passing. And that's horrible. But like we have to find the positive and the negative, right? You have to perceive something different. Your eyewitness testimony, whenever you said there, he's talking about, I'm gonna say nothing. But at the end of the day, whatever we see, we have to say what really happened there, right? There's something really, really bad just happened, but what's good about it? How can I use that to be in my past to make me a better person?
Yeah, man. Like I lost somebody close for, you know, it's been a little while. I think someone that close to me has passed away. It was my uncle back in December, right? And it was crazy because we had a last conversation, and every time I would like come home and like talk to him before I leave, I'd be like, hey man, what's a tip you got for me? Or like he'd always give me like a little gem to go with, right? And he was real sick, but he goes, last thing he ever said to me was like, be honest. And he was real sick, so he couldn't talk a lot. But when he said be honest, you could tell it was like he really wanted to give me like a little lecture. Not lecture, but he had like a dialogue to go back and forth. And being honest isn't always just like, hey, Andrew, did you see somebody get shot? Oh, yeah, or being quiet. It's more so like if you're having a conversation with a significant other, you're having a conversation with your mother, you have to make a decision between different things. Like, how honest are you being?
Right.
Are you just saying something to get past that? Or are you being honest with yourself? Are you like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I actually want to pursue this, and it's going to take sacrifice, but I'm going to do it. Or you're saying, I'll just do this because this is what everybody else says I should do. Are you lying to yourself?
Right.
You know what I mean? Things like that, you know? And what I'm saying is basically like, okay, he's gone, but like when I look back in time, he was an entrepreneur. He was a provider. He would take his own clothes off, put on somebody else's back. He set, you know, his kids up. Yeah. He sets his kids up for success. He started businesses that now he's put other people's names in, et cetera, et cetera. So like he left us like an eternity of things to do. It's like Kobe, right? If you think about the Kobe, what's the first thing you picture? You probably picture him on ESPN with his daughter, courtside, all the games, giving people game. When you see Jason Tatum do that spin fadeaway,
you see
that's Kobe. You know what I mean? Like he's like these black things on the wall, man. He's not going to go anywhere. So it's kind of like, you know, it kind of goes to one thing AJ always says at our ladder is like when you leave, you know, what are you leaving behind?
What's your legacy, man?
Yeah, what's your legacy? So
Exactly.
the reason why some people, like 2 generations, don't remember your name is because you didn't leave them anything. And it's not like
impactful legacy. Yep.
It's not like you gave them money or something, but it's like, okay, I invested in this property, I have this land, and I might have built an office on it, but now my kid, who I didn't even know, but now he's like a NBA basketball player, and now he's gonna build a Mamba facility on there. You know what I mean? It's those little kind of things you set up from 100 years ago.
For sure.
We're going to take a quick ad, yo, and I got a question from one of the followers. Go ahead and tell us about Trademark, Jay.
All right, so Trademark is a commercial real estate developer based in Fort Worth, Texas. We buy, build, and operate shopping centers across the country. I'm actually in the acquisitions group, but yeah, that's kind of what we do.
Shout out to Trademark, man. Yeah. To my boy Cottrell Young, man. It's one of my childhood friends, man. One of my boys. He said, what is your advice to the kids who don't grow up with parental structure? This is for everyone.
Well, I mean, what was his name?
Cottrell.
Well, nice to see you, Cottrell. Thanks for tuning in to our boys podcast. That's what's up. Yeah. But man, I mean, that's a good question. I would probably say that you can learn what not to do by seeing what's done, right? So a wise man learns from his own mistakes. A wiser man learns from the mistakes of others, right?
Preach.
So you can sit there and say, and I'm not saying you do this or anyone does this, but I mean, are you going to be a victim or a victor, right? I had this kind of silver spoon background that a lot of people would necessarily, quote unquote, say like, man, I wish I had that, right? You don't necessarily have to have that because my mom didn't have that, my dad didn't have that, but they created that for me, right? So, I mean, that's a better question for my parents because they actually did it, but I would just say you can see what's done and you can know what's right. At the end of the day, you know what's right. You know, you don't have to be taught, hey, man, don't go out there and start selling drugs. You don't have to go out there and skip class. You don't have to go out there and smoke weed with your friends. But you might have all your friends that are doing that, so it's hard to buck that peer pressure. I never really had to fight that because a lot of my friends weren't doing those things, right?
That's true.
I was with the chess club on the weekends, right? I wasn't necessarily like underneath the bleachers at high school, like messing around doing God knows what. Where like a lot of people have friends like that. So at the end of the day, it just makes it a lot harder.
True.
But it's not impossible, right?
No.
Because there's a lot of people that grow up fatherless and become the best fathers. And then you have on the opposite end of the spectrum, people grow up fatherless and then they become that fatherless figure to their offspring. You know what I'm saying? So I would just say learn from the mistakes that you kind of experienced growing up.
Okay.
And you can really be wiser by looking at what's done that you didn't necessarily even have done for you and learning from that, right?
Okay. Talk to us about science, man. Let's talk science and conspiracy theories. Let's go, yeah. Let's go ahead and let's just take it there, man.
Yeah,
like
man.
we got the good stuff out of the way.
Did coronavirus come from bat soup or was it man-made? Go.
Man-made.
I mean, we can sit here and speculate, man, but I mean, we'll never know. So that the thing is, I mean, does that really matter, right? I was trying to figure that out. I was trying to talk to you about that, man. There's so many things we can't control if it came from bat soup or if it came from. We can't control that. All we can control is if they say it's in Dallas, we can wear a mask. We can control our actions.
The mask actually doesn't prevent you from getting the virus.
You got goggles too, right?
Nothing prevents you from. It's contagious. Like nothing can prevent you from getting the virus.
Then you can just quarantine yourself.
Yeah, like it's in the air. Like,
but I mean, that's a good question, bro. AIDS, there's a lot of that, and it can be really inciting and angry, make you mad. Yeah. But it's like, why get upset over that stuff, man?
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious.
And see, that's the thing. I haven't really looked into it, but you want to talk science, like I was telling you this the other day, man. Like, it's all about your perception, right? We were just talking about the eyewitness stuff, but like, what is time, right? Like, what makes a day a day?
It's literally like a way to track, like a history tracking.
Yeah, but like, what makes a day a day?
The sun.
The sun going up and down.
Yeah, but like, what does the Earth do? Technically, the Earth does this once, right? And then a year means the Earth does that around the sun, right? You see what I'm saying? So like, that's just our perception of time. So like, on Venus, a day is slower than a year. So it doesn't really make any sense. It's just a way that we can keep track of things, right? But it's like,
act like I know, yeah.
No, but I mean, that's crazy, bro. Like, we think it's all relative, man. Gravitational forces are what cause science, like all that, or cause time, or our perception of time, right? Yeah. I mean, I was watching that this thing is called about like your life in jelly beans, and you should like let the people know. But basically, like the average American lives 70-something years, right? So they have one jelly bean for every single day that you're gonna live, and then they show you that you sleep for however many jelly beans, right? Like your whole life, if you sleep 8 hours a day, you have this many jelly beans gone just to sleep. You travel to and from work, this many jelly beans gone. You're at work from 9 to 5, and that's from the time that you're working from like 22 or whatever to the time you're like 60, right? Retirement age, gone, right? You're at church on Sunday from 9 to 12, gone. You're combing your hair, brushing your teeth, gone, right? So it's at the end, if you live like 75 years, you really gonna have like 7 years. You only have like 7.5 years, like 2,800 jelly beans left. So it's like, what do you do with those jelly beans, right? Yeah. But then at the end of the day, there's still so much time while you're at work that matters, right? It's not like, oh, you only have 7 years. Because you have all the time that you're at work, that stuff matters. You can't really do much when you sleep, right? Some people think you can, I mean, some people like lucid dreamers and can do some crazy stuff while they sleep, but you can't really control that. Yeah. But everything else you can still control. So even though you only have this many jelly beans left, I mean, that shouldn't affect you, right? So what do you do with your time in the time that's kind of like taken up with other stuff? There's this commencement speech that I think David Foster Wallace or something gave. I forgot where, but it was it's called "This Is Water." Okay. So it starts off by saying there's these two young fish, right? They're swimming along, and they're just hanging around, doing flips, messing around, figuring out how to, just be a young fish in the ocean. And then the old fish swims up and says,
hope he didn't walk by.
Yeah, I mean, you might even see walking. You get it?
Yeah.
Get it? See walking. But anyway.
Right next to SpongeBob, right?
But the older fish comes by and was saying, hey, young guys, how's the water? And then they look at each other and they're like, what the fuck is water? And it's because they're young fish and they're just not even aware of the fact that water exists, right? So then he goes down the speech about saying, like, what really matters. Everybody goes into this like rut of going to your job, going home, and then going to sleep, right? Wake up, go to your job, go home, go to sleep. You might be able to go to the gym in the morning. You might be able to have yoga. You might have some little time, but like for the most part, your time is kind of allocated Monday through Friday for the average working person that graduates college. He's speaking to these college kids who are going to go to a 9 to 5, right? So it's saying like, you go to the grocery store and then you sit in the grocery store and there's only 2 lines, right? And there's like 20 different counters, but only 2 of them are open, right? And then there's somebody up front that's like taking forever and she's pulling out coins, pulling out coupons, and you just want to get home to watch LeBron. You want to get home to do, but basically you put yourself as the center of the universe and you disregard everyone else and forget that everyone else is in this line just like you. Why can't you guys like enjoy that time? Why does being in a long line or being stuck in traffic, why does that have to be something that we perceive as bad? And it's because we've been conditioned to think about that. Like being in traffic is like a waste of time. True. But like one, what is time really? And then 2, why are you sitting in your car? You know how much longer it would take you to walk home? I don't care if you're sitting in traffic on 5 miles an hour. Like if you run 5 miles an hour, after an hour, you're probably gonna be tired. And you only went 5 miles. You still got a whole nother 30 miles to get home.
Keep everything in perspective.
Keep everything in perspective, man. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, I always tell myself sometimes, like, this is water, right? I got pulled over today. You can see me on Snapchat.
Did you?
Yes.
For what?
Water.
I got followed yesterday for like 10 minutes. Yo.
Water. But that's what I'm telling myself. I just tell myself water. Even when it's something that I think, man, this is horrible. Man, I almost got kicked out of Dartmouth, right? I got kicked off the rugby team for a little while, right? But water. You got to like tell yourself, this is water, bro.
I actually got a clip of the speech. Yeah, I'm going to play it. This is the end of it.
Right? Water. You got to like tell yourself, this is water, bro.
I actually got a clip of the speech. Yeah, I'm going to play it. This is the end
Dr. Laura's sermon. None of this stuff is really about morality or religion or dogma or big fancy questions of life after death. The capital T truth is about life before death.
Boom.
It is about the real value of a real education, which has almost nothing to do with knowledge and everything to do with simple awareness. Awareness of what is so real and essential, so hidden in plain sight all around us all the time, that we have to keep reminding ourselves over and over, this is water. This is water.
Yeah, man.
David Foster Wallace.
Yeah, man. OG.
Hey, the next time I see somebody spazzing, hey, this is water.
And that's the thing is like, it's just all in perspective.
Pour some water.
It's just all in perspective, man. And then just try to circle back to kind of mental health, man. Like, I mean, we were talking earlier. It's just like I was afforded an opportunity. Like I went through some things, depression. You know, to me, you can be happy or sad, but to me, those are kind of fleeting. Those are emotions that aren't as like intense, right? if you have like hate or disgust for someone, that means you disliked something for a long time. You can dislike marshmallows, and then you a couple years later you like marshmallows, right?
True.
But if you truly discuss something, you're like, that means it's like resentment. It's like built up, right? So there's a lot of people that are in this kind of sunken place for so long that they become depressed, right? And then it's like they're so happy for so long that they become joyful, right? So it's like, how do you want to let those willy-nilly fleeting emotions, you can't let the bad ones stick around too long. The good ones, whenever you're happy, be happy, man. Like, that's awesome. That's what we're supposed to be, right? Whenever you feel calm, safe, you should try to repeat those actions to do that. Whenever you feel threatened, you should probably not put yourself in those situations, because then you're going to always walk around being paranoid, and then you're in a state of paranoia.
So what would you say to, because, there's some people, unfortunately, they're in situations where they're in survival mode.
Yeah.
The minute they leave, the minute they before they go to school, and the minute they get out of school. And unfortunately, sometimes at school, right, if you're like in especially in the communities that, are kind of man-made into a pit to where you go in, you're stuck, and you're probably either going to end up having to do something to generate income that's illegal, or you're kind of like in a pipeline to jail, right?
Right.
So what would you say to those people who are just born into bad situations where you're just marginalized because of your race, your area, everything, because that's real. That's very real, especially if you're black. We have a lot of counterparts or brethren, whatever you want to call them, that are born into that situation, right?
Right. I mean, that's the whole, like, socioeconomic mobility is limited in certain instances, right? Like the pipeline, right? Some people are on a pipeline to, like, paradise, and then some people on a pipeline to prison, right? But for those people that are kind of in that pipeline, man, I would just say, you just be the outlier. There's this movie called Finding Forrester. I don't know if y'all ever heard about it.
Who's in it?
Man, who's you know that movie? He was in Coach Carter. He was the one that had Ashanti as his girlfriend. You know what I'm talking about? He had the baby with.
He had the big heart. His heart was too big.
Nah, that's you talking about the other movie, bro. I'm talking about Coach Carter. No. It wasn't that dude. It wasn't that dude.
Oh,
it was somebody that had the baby with Ashanti. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know his name though.
But basically, Finding Forrester, bro. He grew up in the place
the
where
dark
he was
skinned kid.
The dark skinned kid.
Yeah.
That one. He grew up in a pipeline to prison, quote unquote, right? It was either go to the NBA, sell drugs, or rap, right? Like, that was his pipeline, right? One of those. But basically, he had a mentor, right? Who someone that was outside of that kind of pipeline, someone that wasn't, like, he was a teacher, right, for him, a professor or whatever, and he just started spending more time with that. So I would just say, stop spending your time that you can choose in those instances, right? Try to remove yourself, because you are who you become, right? Or no, you like are who you have around you, who you surround yourself with. I think they say, like, there's 5 people that kind of contribute to who you are. So, like, your 5 closest people, like, those people are going to influence you the most.
And they're saying your net worth would be the average of your 5 closest friends.
Exactly. There's a lot of things about, like, the people you keep around you really affect you. So those people that are on that pipeline, I would just try to say, find people outside of that pipeline, even if it's just one person. It could be someone, it could be a virtual relationship. You could go on podcasts and look at that, and that be the person. You can never meet that person. Kobe never met a lot of people, but they saw interviews about him. There's a lot of people that never met Jesus that are impacted by him, right? So you don't have to have him right next to you. It helps to be able to feel, see, and touch him, you know what I'm saying? And actually, like, know that person's right there, and you can actually ask them questions, right? But, like, you can surround yourself with people that aren't even around you, per se, right?
You see that letter that Teddy Bridgewater wrote?
Oh my gosh, to the kid, to the little black boy, to man, it was good. He was basically saying
like a little poem. It was like a little poem, basically talking to kids that were in the situation that he was in when he was their age. Coming from like a marginalized area, single parent household, limited resources. Hey, look, like, to the kid that's trying to make it, trying to do it in the situation. I did it, you got it.
Yeah, it was basically just saying, like, to the kid, I'm an example that you can follow, and I'm here praying for you and knowing that you can succeed despite the pipeline that you're on, right? But I mean, Bridget Gibbs, I know she's been on here. I don't know if she ever talked about Dandapani, but she's a yoga instructor who JT introduced me to, and I think that she put me on Dandapani. But he's like this monk, bro, and basically you can even. It's very important for you to get to know yourself. So a lot of people don't really know themselves and love themselves. They say love your neighbor as yourself. well, if I don't love myself, how can I truly love my neighbor, right? Well, that's just off top. But then Dandapani says you have to get to know yourself, right? So to those kids that are like aren't in a good spot, I do this myself, not as consistently as I would like, right? But the motivation is there. The dedication isn't always there. I need to get those two. But the motivation is there is because the only way you got to know JT was by talking to JT, seeing where he's from, how you spend time with him, like what do you like to do? What kind of stuff like do you like? What kind of stuff do you dislike? And then you make your judgment. JT is cool, man. Like he's good people. I want to be around him more. And then you get to know him more and more. And at the beginning of y'all's relationship, it's what's your name, where you from, and it's really
How tall are you?
yeah, it's like topical. It's topical
Top
conversation,
one
right?
question every single day
Right?
of life.
But it's just like artificial topical break
Humble
the ice questions, right? Whereas eventually you'll get to know like what really drives him. But you don't necessarily learn that on the first interaction, right? So he says every single day you need to have your me time. And that me time isn't you walking your dog, because that's you walking your dog, right? Your me time isn't you necessarily reading a book. Your me time isn't going to yoga. It's actually just you, yourself, and yourself, right? Me, myself, and I. And you sit down, close your eyes, and you ask yourself, what do you like? Right? You have to get to know yourself just like you get to know others. And it's going to start with conversations that are very topical, and it's going to seem stupid. It's like you already know what you like. But the only way you can really break that ice with anyone, including yourself, is to ask you questions and spend time with yourself, asking you what really do you like? What really don't you like? How did you feel about that? Well, why did you feel how you felt about that, right? And you have your like own self-therapy. Because I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to counseling or therapy, but they basically ask you, how did you feel about that? I mean, it's not like they give you these bits of wisdom. They do, right?
Like
but you
pretty
can find
generic
those,
questions. Yeah.
Pretty generic. You can find those bits of wisdom on the internet, right? And so it's just, you have to figure out like what's the cause that really made you feel the way you felt, right?
Yeah, that's
you just unravel.
The
and
root
the
of
thing,
it.
what's the root of it? Because you can't, it's just like a Band-Aid, right? Or you can have an antibiotic or whatever, right?
Okay.
That can actually go in and fix it, or you can have something that just kind of masks it, right? And so we have to
Band-Aid
spend
solution. This is what we do.
Exactly.
We do the quick fix.
The quick
like
fix,
we were just
man.
talking about instant gratification.
And that's just, we're a byproduct of that society, man. Our parents had to put in the work, bro. Like, they didn't necessarily, if you wanted to cook something, you couldn't just get a Hot Pocket and warm it up in 30 seconds. You had to, like, warm up the oven. You had to wait. Like, you know, it just took time for things, for there to be results that were positive. Whereas now, you can sit here and you can call someone in China. Like, back in the day, my parents dated long distance. They didn't necessarily have the money to call each other every day, so they were writing letters. But they just had to put in a lot more work.
Did they?
The notebook.
Yeah, man.
How far?
I mean, she was in Kansas, he was in Atlanta, all guys college. Wow. Yeah, and so it took a while. But they would just, what they did was instead of writing letters, bro, they were cheesy / amazing. They would have notebooks. So they would just send the notebook back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. And then they have like letters on letters on letters in the same notebook. And then she has like a freshman year notebook, a sophomore year notebook.
Are you serious?
I'm dead.
From your dad.
Yes,
During
bro.
long distance.
And like at most people in their bathrooms, like my parents' bathroom, they don't have like magazines on the toilet, right? They have their college journals / notebooks on the back of the toilet. That's their like casual reading stuff.
That's low-key legendary.
You know what I'm saying?
That's legendary.
But
That's dope.
I mean, that's just who I grew up with, bro. My parents would have us up at like 4:30 in the morning doing Bible study every single week, every single day. We had to read the Bible in a year for like 2 years in a row. It's called the 1 year Bible. You read a passage from the Old Testament and a passage from the New Testament every day. Then there's questions that make sure you understand what's going on, and then how can you apply it to your life? It's like, what did you learn? What does it really truly mean? And like, how can I apply it to my life?
That's actually cool.
Yeah,
it is cool, but like that's how I grew up. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, like that's just the plant the box that I was put in. There's nothing else from.
We gotta get the ladder guys to True Group.
Oh,
and
man.
True Group, some of the True Group guys to the ladder.
Yeah,
so we can kind of like merge.
Yeah,
go 10.
Yeah, make it happen
for sure, man.
Yeah,
sure.
we're gonna take this ad, yo. AP, go ahead and tell us about the ladder, man.
Hey guys, the ladder. At the Ladder Dallas, definitely check it out, man. Just a group. We have men's group, we have women's group, we have Bible study every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Check out the Instagram, DM for location, everything. We got a lot of material on there. We'd love to have you as a guest and a part of our community.
Yes, sir. Shout out to the ladder, man.
We got a lot of gear coming too. So,
we got drip coming.
If you need some drip,
is that what you got on that chest, man? Go ahead and show that thing, man.
If you need some drip, holler at your boy. We got you.
Yes, sir. So we got a question from Mason Brawley. What do you feel young athletes should focus on to most set themselves up to be successful after sports?
Ooh,
young athletes.
Well, I'll let you. You want to go first? You want me to go first? Because you're the athlete. I mean, I played club rugby. We competed against varsity teams. But come on, you the athlete.
I mean, honestly, I'll say like just try something different, which is what I wish I had done. But I'm still getting to do it now. But like at a young age, like you were able to try a lot of different stuff. I'm sure you tried different stuff when you were young because we're just curious. Just try different stuff because you don't know. You don't even know like what you're good at.
Right.
You may be good at a sport. You may be great at a skill or something outside of sports. So that's what I would just say. Just keep it simple.
I completely agree with that, but it's just like the dedication that, I mean, he's a young athlete, right? You're an athlete. At one point, I'm sure you played sports. Just we all kind of grew up doing that.
Yeah.
Take that work ethic that you had in athletics and let that be the same work ethic that you ascribe to whatever you do, whatever is new that you do, right?
Yeah.
So just like you wake up at 6 a.m., just like you restrict your diet, just like you ain't out too late at night because you got a game the next day, that's how you got to treat the rest of your life. Yeah. And then I would say, don't let your identity be caught up in being an athlete, bro. Because that is the biggest thing, because once they remove that from you, then that's why you can see all these ex-NBA players who just had all the fame, had all this, and then just because they're no longer on SportsCenter on top 10 every single night.
They're wilding. Antonio Brown.
Yeah, my gosh, bro. But it's because like part of his identity was like that, and that he can't necessarily transition. So the ones that are successful, right, will just take the same skills that made them successful, and that's part of their life, and apply them elsewhere, right? Yeah. Because you're not necessarily a basketball player. That you can play basketball, right? But is that who you really are? And some people actually say that that's who they are.
Who they are, basketball
but what sucks is like that basketball player, what happens if your heart's enlarged, right? And you can't play no more. And that person has like all this cognitive dissonance because they associated themselves with being a basketball player and they can't do that anymore, right? So it's like, what can you really control, right? That's what it all goes back to, right? And part of your identity, I mean, you can say who you are, but like if that thing can be taken away from you, then I wouldn't necessarily give too much of your identity to that. Because then it's a big part of you that's going to be missing. True. And so just know that whatever your name is, young man, like you play basketball. I hope you go to the league, right? Because that's probably why you're playing. But at the end of the day, if you don't,
so Mason actually owns a semi-pro basketball team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's not a player.
Gotcha. Oh,
yeah,
so he's just saying for
young.
Yeah, but all these kids, man, I would just tell Mason, if you own the team, man, I would just make sure that these kids understand that they're doing this at this point in their life, but that's not necessarily who they are, right? Okay. They have to find something else. And you spend so much time doing something, you're going to associate yourself with that. Yeah. It's just human nature. Yeah. But you have to realize that you're more than a basketball player, right? That's the whole, like, that was the tagline, right? I'm more than a basketball player. But a lot of basketball players don't really believe that themselves. They might say it, but they don't actually internalize and believe it, because then once they're no longer a basketball player, they don't know what to do with themselves.
I think the biggest thing, man, and I got a homie, shout out to James Porter. So he played basketball, professionally, just like our boy over here.
Yes, sir.
And what he did was he knew he wanted to be a lawyer, so he kind of like set himself up and like did a lot of research, knew a school he wanted to go to, was ready, like, practicing for the LSAT or whatever.
Yeah.
So when the year he stopped playing professional basketball, he transitioned directly into taking the LSAT, applying to school.
Set himself
up. Went straight into law school, right? So I think like if I had a kid, a daughter or son, and they were like a D1 5-star prospect, I would tell them like you need to know what kind of career you want to have, and not even just because basketball will not work out, but even if you're a Hall of Fame player, when you retire, you got to transition.
You got a whole life.
You got a whole bunch of time.
Chapter 2, Chapter 10, whatever the next chapter is.
Exactly. You got to be able to like put that time and effort and that work ethic into something else and transition to it. And you can't really figure it out then when you're 41. You can't just I'm just with 0 years of experience in accounting, just become an accountant from day one.
Right.
To be successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got a question for y'all, man.
Yeah,
like I know what you guys do right now in your job and your professional careers, but is that what you guys really want to do? What do you guys see yourselves moving forward?
Ooh, we're gonna make sure Trademark doesn't see this, right?
Hey, I mean, if they want to keep you and they know your value.
I'm kidding. Man, I just want to give back, man. So I know it's a cliche answer, but I'll kind of say it.
I was gonna call you out for that.
Yeah. But like,
I just want to give it
back. but I mean, overall, that's just the way I want it to be. But then at the end of the day, man,
in what way?
It's how exactly. Yeah. And so to me, there's capital out there, right? I mean, capitalism. Most people think of capital as just what money is in your bank account, right? Or what's your net worth. That's what they think of capital as. But there's intellectual capital, right? There's social capital, right? There's like someone that can be in a room and light up up the room, that's a certain currency that person has that other people don't have. So there's all types of capital that's out there. So to me, I just want to get as much capital as I can. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a quote that says, learn something new every single day and lessen the suffering of others. If you do those two things, then like you're a good person, you're going to have a great life, and the people around you are going to benefit from you, and then it'll be a symbiotic relationship, and then that you'll benefit from them as well. So you learn something new every day and you lessen the suffering of others. But to me, it's I want to get as much capital as I can without taking your capital, because if I'm over here like running over you so that I can get what I want, then that's just counterintuitive. True. I want to have the greater good. So if I can stack my chips and it doesn't hurt you, then I should do that. But if I'm over here doing a Ponzi scheme, I shouldn't just stack my chips and then screw over everyone else. You see what I'm saying? No scamming. But I'm saying like in the most genuine way, acquire as much capital as you can, right? Okay. And that's like learn something new, right? And then teach people what you know, right? True. So that's what I mean by give back. It don't have to literally be me giving you clothes off my back, but if I have an extra shirt and you need one, then I'll give you that.
So you kind of want to be like a philanthropist?
Yes, not kind of. I mean, I'm just a philanthropist by yes, one of those. One of those. That's ultimately what I want to do, man. I think Bill and Melinda Gates, their foundation is amazing. Yeah. If I could work for them tomorrow, I would. Bill Gates is like, hey,
you would leave right now.
Yes.
On the jet. On the helicopter is outside right now. You out. Nope, you can't pack your bags or nothing. You gotta go.
Foggy, but yes, I'm on the helicopter. I'm on the jet. I got you.
That's how I believe destiny is, yo. Sometimes it's like
because their foundation to me is just. I mean, I love what I do at Trademark, and Terry Montesi is great, man. He has our founding, our purpose, to be extraordinary stewards, enhance communities, and enrich lives. Right. That's what our company's purpose statement is. Right. Yeah. And then we have all of these kind of pillars. Right. Engage people, make a difference. We have all these kind of things that we're supposed to subscribe to, right? So I think he's going about it in a good way, right? He's stacking his chips, but he's worried about engaging people, right? He's worried about enriching lives and enhancing the community, right? So I think you can do that, but it's just, to me, building a mall isn't what drives me. I've toured malls with him, and I can see him. He's a kid in a candy store. He's a grown man in the mall. He's a grown man in a mall, but he's a kid in a candy store because he's so excited, and he can see that needs some change, and if they can do that, then he'll change this and that, and he's just so kind of invigorated with what he does. I'm walking around the mall like, I don't really care. So I'm not as engaged as he is, right? It's if you work a job that you love, or if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? Yes. Right now I'm working, right? Which is not bad, right? Because working builds work ethic. You need work. You need work.
Builds character.
It builds character. But at the end of the day, I'm not waking up and thinking, man, if I buy this mall in New Jersey, then my life is going to be awesome because I'm going to change that mall and that community is going to be way better. Yeah. That's how he looks at it. Yeah. And so that's not necessarily what I want to do, but it's not like I'm doing something bad, right? So it's not like we go in and we make malls worse and we make the community worse. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But at the end of the day, sometimes we try to gravitate towards communities that are already thriving. We like to invest in the South Lakes of the world. Yeah. Communities that aren't like your Oak Cliff. Yeah. Yeah. So we're making the better. Yeah. Right? Whereas there's a lot of communities that could use gentrification and all of that through commercial developments, right? Like Oak Cliff, they're doing all that stuff. Trinity Groves, they're like transforming that community by bringing in a food hall and they're bringing in new apartments that are nicer, right? They're not just like cruddy apartments that like anyone can live in. You actually have to you're going to keep it nice because you're paying a lot for it, right? You're going to take care of it because you actually spend money on it. So commercial development is positive, but it's just, that's not necessarily what drives me. And what drives me more is kind of like, I always talk to him about it, but there's people that are imprisoned in their mind. Right? There's people that have taken their lives, like RIP to all of them, and it's horrible. It's horrific to think about. And there's people that are going to do that in the future, and that's horrible to think about. But at the end of the day, they could be rich, they can be a multimillionaire, and then they commit suicide. And then there's a lot of people that are like, bro, I could just have $10,000 and I would be so happy.
That's what they think.
With $10,000. Yeah. Right? And so that person that's a millionaire, why were they depressed?
Yeah.
Why were they? And so you have to, but you can be in a prison of your mind. And so what I want to do is just spread everyone to know, like, you have to, it doesn't matter if you're actually in prison, because there's people in prison who are starting ministries. There's people in prison who are starting
becoming lawyers.
There's people in prison that are doing, they're becoming way more productive now that they're imprisonated than when they were free.
Imprisonated.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when they were free, they weren't doing anything. And now they're like doing everything now that they're actually in a
structure.
Got a lot of time on their hands.
It's a mental, but that's the thing, is it's a mental thing. Like, they're actually confined in 4 walls. They can't really go anywhere. They can't even do anything, but they're still doing things. And then there's people that have no walls, right? And they just confine themselves mentally, right?
So you're gonna like do Inception on them or something, and like check it to that 3rd level.
Hypnosis.
I checked into y'all. Y'all mentioned Dandapani.
Yeah,
is that his name?
Yeah.
He said, "It is your choice to make your mind a heaven or a hell to live in.
Boom.
It takes tremendous courage, will, and self-compassion to break the habits."
And that's the thing, is you could be going through hell, literally. There's women that are being abused. There's kids that are being bullied at school, right? And it's hard for a kid to make that mental, because your brain's still developing. But like, you can be in a heaven, right? Mentally, even though everyone else would be in hell mentally based on what's happening to you. It's just a choice, and it's a hard choice.
Yeah.
But it's just, it takes effort. The only way that you can dunk a basketball the way you did is because you dunked and dunked and dunked. Yeah, you're 6'7", but there's some 6'7" people that can't dunk.
That's true.
So all I'm saying is, like, it might be easier for you than a lot of people, but it's still not easy.
Shout out to Pops, man. Jump ropes, man.
That's what I'm saying.
500 a day.
Woo! But that's all I'm saying is, the only reason why you're good at what you do is because you've done it so much. The 10,000 hour rule, man. You're only good at doing what you do. Malcolm Gladwell, man.
Outliers.
Yeah. But like, the only reason why you're good at what you do is because you did it. There's some people that are just born with that talent, right? Yeah. But then it's like, when you refine your talent, when you're the Michael Jordan, you're the hardest worker. You're Kobe, you're the hardest worker. Then that's when you get to that next level, man.
Yeah. I think AP, bro. Like, you don't really know AP, bro, but like, this dude is hilarious, bro. And it's like, it's effortless, bro. You know what I mean? Like really, like, effortless, bro. And like, I don't know, like, what you want to do outside of what you want to do, bro.
Yeah,
but
man,
like,
what you want to do?
Me?
Yeah.
I kind of want to do what you want to do, man. I want to be a philanthropist. You know what I'm saying? But I want to like be involved in, like, you know, the startup culture more, and I get a little more influent in that side, man. But I want to be able to involve people of our diaspora, so the Black Diaspora.
Yeah.
And I want to be, because, you know, this is how it is, man. So there's a lot, all the resources are in Africa. Not all, but, you know, a lot, especially the untapped, right? Not even just like in the ground, but like youth, like the youngest continent by far is Africa.
Right.
Other countries like Japan, China, like in 10 to 15 years, 60% of the population is
gonna be
old,
above, right?
Certainly, and they have a lack of young people, right? But when you see companies go over there, okay, that we're gonna put this massive refinery and we're gonna dig oil, but we're only gonna hire people from Europe to come over and do this. And if we hire any local Africans, it'll probably be like janitors, and it'll probably this and mistreat them and this, that, right? You know, my mom's whole side's from Trinidad, right? So even over there, when the British, you know, abolished slavery, they brought in Indians, people from India to be indentured laborers, with also the purpose of putting land and assets in their names instead of Africans, right? So like, no matter where you go in the world, stuff's kind of against us, even though we have a very intelligent, you know, people forget that, like, if you go a couple 100 years back in time, we ran the world, literally. Right. You know what I mean? So I want to kind of be involved in more just giving people opportunities that I was given, but a lot of people like us are not given. On a
like
basis.
you said, man, the youth are everything, man. I forget the quote, but there's something about, like, arming a kid's mind, and like, the kids are the future, man. If we can get all of our kids to stop fighting, if we can get all of the kids in our own diaspora to stop fighting each other, and separate diasporas to stop fighting those different, like, if we can get those kids, because the thing is, when you're a kid, you don't know anything. You have to learn everything. You have to learn racism. You aren't born with that. You have to learn prejudice. You weren't born with that. I mean, even black people are prejudiced, man. I think we don't necessarily realize that. We might not be as
Willie Lynch, yo.
But all I'm saying is, I mean, I was talking about this the other day, but in a psychology class, man, like, they had these cops that had this like simulation where they put on something and like it's a fake gun and stuff, but they have someone get out of the car, and it can be a black person, a white person, Hispanic, Asian, and then they'll pull out something, and it can be either like a gun, a cell phone, like it can be a piece of paper, and so like, is it a threat or a non-threat? And like, even the black cops, white cops, Hispanic cops, they would all shoot the black person that was pulling out a cell phone way quicker than they would shoot the white person that's pulling out a gun.
It's tough.
So even if you're black and you see a black person, you have that inherent prejudice, and it's like milliseconds. It's conditioning. right?
TV shows, commercials.
And that's the problem,
bro.
is how do we break that? That's a whole nother thing.
Produce our own.
Because the meat, but all the media is owned by like the same, bro. Like you want
the
conspiracy, man.
The house has been built. The house has been built. The pillars were built like they are. Like,
but you're not gonna build your own house, even though it's a house.
You can build your own house, but I'm saying we live in the house. Like,
yeah.
The country is the house.
But I mean, like,
the hemisphere is the house. Really.
Yeah, there's a monopoly on like all the media and everything that gets told, the stories that are told. Man. There's so many stories that just get buried.
Yeah.
And certain media outlets want to do it, but then from way up nowhere, way higher up, they're like, hey, we got to kill that story. Like, but then the president did, hey, like I said, we got to kill that story.
Yeah.
And it's like,
literally,
that story will not
kill.
Do you believe in aliens?
Story.
Yes.
So sometimes I feel like there's such evil people on Earth that they have to be aliens almost. Not even an
Name
alien,
one.
Like,
Name one.
Nah.
I got you.
But now, okay, I mean, think about it. Like, go back in time, like King Leopold from Belgium, right? He's the one that had the Congo was his thing, and like, bro, the stuff that he did that still goes on now is like demonic. You know what I mean? Like Hitler. You could go back in time and look at all these key people, and I'd be like, what kind of sect of human did they fall from the sky, or did they land here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I almost think like there's like a alien race of humans amongst us that are like stay in power and just like are evil.
I mean, that's it could be the case. That's a probability.
But are they conditioned, just like how we were talking about?
They might be the one conditioning us, though. Right?
I mean, so do you believe in aliens, though?
Oh, 100%, bro.
So you think they're from space? You think they've been here with us? Like, what's your...
I think that there's a lot of thoughts on that, but like the fact that we're alive, the universe I know is as big as we think it is, or we know it is, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
There's no way that life isn't elsewhere. Yeah. I don't know if they've come here. Potentially they have. I believe in UFOs. UFO just means unidentified flying object, right? So if there's an object that's
unidentified bird, you know.
But if it's an unidentified object that's flying, that's technically a UFO, right? And it could be a bird, but it's unidentified and we'll never know. But like there are UFOs just because based on the definition. Am I saying it's a spaceship from another galaxy? No, not necessarily. Yeah. But UFOs are real. And I do believe aliens. I don't know if they necessarily visited us. Yeah. But I mean, if you really think about it, bro, what was Jesus? That boy was walking on water. That boy was touching people and healing. Like that's alien. That's like demonic, but in a good way. It's like that powerful. I'm saying it's that powerful.
You said demonic in a good way.
But I'm saying it's that powerful. Like it's crazy. He was literally healing people. The demons coming out of people. What he was doing was alien-esque.
I was gonna ask you how, if there are aliens, how does that match up biblically? You know, because I feel like a lot of people feel like you can't, if you believe in the Bible and you're strong in your faith, you can't step out of the lines of aliens and this and kind of stuff. So how do you think that kind of intersects?
Oh man, like that's where my whole mental health journey started with my parents. Like always taught me that the Bible was real, right? Then I went to this school and I met a lot of people that were smart, quote unquote, and none of them believed the Bible. So I'm like, whoa, right? Yeah. So then I started to like unravel the Bible and find what I thought were inconsistencies, right? Because the Lord never changes, but the word testament means will. So how is there an old will and a new will if the Lord never changes? How can the Lord actually have a chosen people? Like if you're not born in that, if you're not born a Jew, you weren't one of God's chosen people. You know how many people that Jews fought against, they killed, and those people died? And it's because they weren't Jews, they weren't on God's side. So God had people born into his non-chosen people. And so like, it was just, I went down this hole, and then it's like, if God's not real, then what matters? Is anything real? If I live, does it matter? If I die, does it matter? Am I just going to go to nothingness, or is there really a heaven and a hell?
Existentialism.
Oh my gosh, existentialism. So I went down this whole...
Existentialism, what's that?
Niche.
It's like, why do you exist? It's the study of trying to understand why do you exist.
I failed it in college, bro. Like a 49 on that job.
That was my favorite class, man.
Did you pass? Of course.
Yeah, but it's just, but I mean, how does it counteract against the Bible? I think that I don't necessarily know. I know that God says that he created us in his image. He never said that he never created anything else in another image, and his image, other people. So it's like, does that really counteract God? He doesn't say like you guys are the only ones in the universe. There's no scripture that says that. Then I think that science actually confirms the Bible. A lot of times I was telling him about apologetics or apologism. It's basically proving the Bible with texts that are outside of the Bible, right? And it's not necessarily just text, it's like archaeological evidence. So they can actually go and dig up and see.
That's a good question for you.
Yeah.
What about the Apocrypha and the books that were left out of the Bible?
Oh, that's what I was going to say next. I like it.
Well, I mean, I think we should all read those, though, right?
Okay.
They're still out there, but they're not in the Bible. Have you read any of them, right?
I started to read the Apocrypha.
When I say you, I mean the people that are like, oh, well, like I'm not gonna believe the Bible because there's other texts. Well, have you read those texts? Have you read the whole Bible?
Have you?
Yes, not all of them. Like there's the scrolls, there's scripts, there's a lot of books that aren't in the Bible, right? The Council of Nicaea, Council of Trent. The Romans actually put together the Bible. They decided which books were going to be in there. I mean, I do think that look. I think that I believe, right, that man is corrupt and evil. We're taught that, right? Yeah. We can even see,
no doubt,
the fruits of that. But at the end of the day, I think that there was Jesus, and he did come, and he did die for us. Yeah. And if we believe that. Now, what happened after he died, as far as what people said, who decided what was said, who decided, I know that had to be corrupted on some level because man had a hand in it.
Yeah, whoever's the victor.
Right. I mean, there was whole libraries that were burned down, right? Library of Alexandria. How much was in that?
Fahrenheit 451.
That we just never
all those libraries in Africa, you know.
Oh my gosh. But like, think about that. And then there's libraries where like we eradicated people, but then the text we don't even know what to do with, so they just get rid. Like, I mean, it's not like they just like, oh, I want to get rid of everything. They don't even know what it is or what it says. Yeah. They don't have the language. So it's just what do we really know? I don't know, right? And then it's just like I was telling JT, like there's sounds we can't hear, there's sights we can't see. We know there's UV rays, but you don't see them.
Can't see Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you can't see why, but we know it's here. You can't see Bluetooth. But like the thing is, we know that there's stuff out there that we can't see, we can't hear, we can't feel. So how can we sit here and say like without a shadow of a doubt that this is what is real and this is what's not real? Because you can't even hear everything, bro. There's some people that are deaf. They're living just like you are, but they can't actually hear. And then there's sounds that we can't hear. Bats can make sounds that we can't hear. There's like frequencies and stuff that we can't hear, but other animals can hear it. So your perception is based on like your limited senses, right? And it's like what other senses are out there that we don't necessarily can't even perceive. You know what I'm saying? The whole sixth sense.
I think it's always really interesting when like you so like there was a point in time where I got kind of lost in faith, and a lot of it is because you know you're learning, you do your own research, and like okay, like you learn about Christianity in school, and this is like the Crusades, and it's essentially like Europeans, like in the name of missionary, like enslaving people, and like enslaving South America, Africans, right? And you're like, well, if this is what it came from, maybe this isn't really me because I don't really read about black people being involved in this. But then you actually go back in time, like you know, shout out the Habesha Nation, the Ethiopians, like they're very what they call it, it's like a form of Christianity,
evangelical Christianity. I don't know.
Unorthodox,
right?
That is the most.
He told me that.
Yeah, that's like the most traditional form that I really just like seen a lot. Like just all the different ceremonies and things that have going on, and like that was like one of the first Christian churches ever was like in Ethiopia, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when you kind of learn about that, it's kind of like okay. It's a lot about the history of Christianity we don't know. Then Jesus was Jewish, right? So then like Christianity is really made after him, right? So I mean, so this is like
that's what I'm saying. After he died, I mean, he came and lived, but then Christianity started after him, right? He never actually used the word Christianity like he was Christ, so that's how it all came into being, right?
I got a question.
What's up?
Serious. You might want to answer this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Right. So I'm a believer that like even though you might not be Christian, I feel like it comes from a base of believing in God and having spirituality, right? So like, for instance, when I was a kid, my mom was very religious. My parents met at Christ for Nations, right? You probably know that's on 35, right? Yeah. So that's why I was born in Dallas, because that's where they met, right?
Nice.
So I used to always ask her, like, so how do all the people who like have never been exposed to Christianity go to heaven or not, right? And in my mind, I almost feel like the spirituality and believing in one God and things like that has kind of been conveyed in multiple religions. You know what I mean? So like personally, I feel like, you know, people who might, I kind of go back and forth, right? But I think down in the inside, I believe that people might be like follow like Islam or things like that. Islam, I bet Islam, right?
Islam.
Hey, we understood you.
Yeah, but when you think down to the basis of it, like the principles are very, very similar. Now, how people have constructed that kind of changes back and forth. But do you think people who like have similar religions or similar bases, you think they'll still, in their own right, will end up in the same heaven?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's possible. Like you just said, I think like Jews are in heaven. There's people that are Jewish that weren't even before Christianity was even created. I think like Moses is in heaven, but he was never a Christian, right? But they still believe in one God. It doesn't necessarily have to be one God even, right? So I think that there's people that believe in the God of the moon, the God of the rain, the God of like those people that believe in all the elements, things called pantheism, right? But I think that there's people that weren't exposed to certain Jesus or weren't exposed. Are they like precluded from getting to heaven? Not necessarily. If you were exposed to Jesus and you turn him down, does that mean you're not getting to heaven? Not necessarily. I don't know. But like my thing is, I'm not even gonna try to worry about like other people and talk like you're gonna go to hell if you don't do this. And you have to say those
people outside the club.
You're all going to hell. You're sinning. They give you those little pamphlets, those little comic book pamphlet things. God sees you. Definitely. There's people that don't believe in Jesus that are gonna go to heaven, man. There's no way, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's not. Who am I to judge, right? God, only God can judge, man.
Do you think smoking weed to God is a sin?
Well, God in the Bible it says, "Render unto Caesar."
And then I'm gonna answer.
Render,
say what? I said I'm gonna let him answer. Then I'm gonna answer.
Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right? So that just means like in that biblical text, he was talking about pay your taxes. They were like, is it really a sin if I don't pay my taxes? Like the Bible, but it's render unto Caesar what is Caesar. So if Caesar has a law, right, and the law is don't drive above 60 miles an hour. That's technically, when I say Caesar, the government, the place you live. Like if you break the law, that's technically a sin because you're supposed to, unless there's certain laws that you should break because then you're actually doing the right thing.
So if you live in Colorado, it's not a sin, but if you live in Texas, it's a sin?
Yeah, but see then.
basically,
but then the thing is like, yeah, I mean, basically. That's kind of how I would say it technically, but I mean, it's also legal in Texas to drink. So just because it's legal here, is that what you should do?
And there's always indulgence, right?
There's always indulgence and like moderation, but like just because it's legal to do something doesn't mean you should do it. I was
curious because when you see old people talk about that, oh my gosh,
about
like World War III, like weed, no, it's a sin. This is like funny watching them kind of converse with younger.
It does. The Bible also talks about being sober minded in all you do, right? It's like you're not supposed to. It doesn't say don't drink, but it says don't give into drunkenness, right? So it's like moderate yourself, right? Yeah, we all know why.
But it's so like it's hard because like our greatest artists, our greatest performers, our greatest entertainers, they use those things.
Bro, sometimes I think of weed as the forbidden fruit. Literally, think about it. Like,
you think it was weed?
What could they have consumed that opened up their mind to a whole nother, like,
shrooms?
Was it mushrooms? Yeah, it could be, but it could be shrooms, or sometimes you smoke weed and you're like, or not you, because I know you don't smoke weed. I don't smoke weed.
In general,
smoke weed. But like people that have smoked weed that we've heard about, they like it opens up their mind. Like it frees your mind. It like gives you a whole nother perspective. True. So the forbidden fruit or whatever that they indulge in that we all were taught
had to be a drug.
It could, to me, it'd be like a psychedelic or like weed or something like that. That has psychedelic effects. Because how else do you transform your mind? You don't necessarily eat an apple and it just, but you know what I'm saying? Or eat an orange and it's like, oh my God, I'm naked. But like you eat shrooms, people have eaten shrooms and been fully clothed and felt like they're naked because their mind just on a whole nother. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's like maybe it was a psychedelic. I don't know. It's just like a random.
No, I mean, I think about that kind of stuff though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's been dope, man. We've been going about 1:10. Like, I don't want to cut it short. Like, if y'all guys want to keep going, we can. Like,
man, I don't really have nothing else. I did want to leave y'all with some quotes, man.
Yeah.
For the people.
Drop the gems.
For the people.
Gems.
I just got a couple things. I already talked about Dandapani. But there's this guy named Hal Elrod, and he writes this book called The Miracle Morning. It's like really thin. And basically you can finish it in like a couple of days. It's like really
50 pages,
easy to read.
Something like that. Kind of like James Allen.
Yeah,
as
man,
a man
real,
thinking.
Exactly. But basically he says that the Miracle Morning consists of an hour of just these 6 activities. So it's meditation, reading, affirmations, visualization, journaling, and exercise. So he says you just wake up and kind of meditate. There's all types of different meditation. Look into it. I'm not about to sit here and bore you with all that. But there's all types of meditation, right? There's the stuff spending time with yourself where you get to know yourself. And there's meditation where you just are. You're just being. You're not thinking about anything. You're just breathing, right? But anyway, then you like read, right? And like read or affirmations, words of affirmation. Tell yourself you are loved. Tell yourself you are beautiful. Tell yourself things, right? There's like this whole study about if you like act hatred towards water, those water molecules like turn. Whereas if you're like loving and speak nice to the water, whenever you look at like the crystals are a lot less jagged and sharp based on the way you speak to water. Which, like, we know water is like the substance of life, but you got to look into it. The way you talk to water can actually affect the way that the water is. It's crazy. Yeah, but affirmation. So the way you talk to yourself is very important. You can't tell yourself that I'm dumb. You can't tell yourself that you're stupid.
We just talked about that
You
today.
can't tell yourself that.
That's
You
true.
can't put that even energy in the universe, right? And then there's visualization. He says you should have a vision board, see what you want. Like if you want that house, you want that job, just like envision yourself. You want to have a job where you wear nice clothes every day, have a picture of you in nice clothes. You might literally be a janitor and be wearing scrubs or whatever, but you want a job that, look at yourself as that, right? See yourself. And he talks about journaling. What do you want to accomplish today? What did you accomplish yesterday that you didn't even want to accomplish, but it was good, and that you should potentially accomplish today and tomorrow, right? And then the last one is just exercise. It's good. Endorphins, like just get your blood flowing. It's just like self-care, right? So talking about mental health, if you dedicate 1 hour of your day before you give anything to anyone else, if you dedicate 1 hour of your day to yourself and making sure that you're okay, you're going to go out and be like killing the game. See what I'm saying? And then there's this quote that this gas station attendant, man, gave me these quotes, bro. Because
it's crazy where you get stuff from the person that you don't expect.
I know, and
that
he's
you least
like,
expect.
but this person is always pretty down because he works He works 7 days a week. Like 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, so he can get overtime. But like he's saying, cost of living and bills are going up, but I'm still getting paid the same, right? So he's working harder, not necessarily smarter, right? But he's working harder, and there's nothing that's coming from it, right? But he told me that he loves seeing me because he says I'm always smiling, I'm always laughing, I'm always trying to make him feel better, and like that makes him feel better. And he says a smile is the lighting system of the face, the cooling system of the head, and the heating system of the heart. So if your heart's cold, smile. If your head is hot, you need to smile so you can cool off, right? And then it also lights up your face. So he's saying, because yeah, but it's crazy because you smile when you're happy, but if you smile, it makes you happy. It has like the reverse effect. Yeah, like it releases endorphins when you smile, right? When you frown, if you're frowning for too long, see, you just feel better when you smile.
Hit that deep.
Yeah, and then laughter is a tranquilizer with no side effects. So like,
I think laughter is the cure for a lot of
it
different
is,
things.
bro.
Yeah.
Laughter is exercise. If you laugh for 10 minutes a day, it's like enough exercise apparently. But it makes your body and your vibes, your energy feel a lot better. You know what I'm saying?
Straight up.
That's all I got, man.
AP.
Man, the only thing I say, man, everybody out there, man, definitely take the time to accept yourself. Realize who you are, accept your flaws, but definitely, accept your positives, what your competitive advantage you have, and then for everybody out there, just try and find your environment that helps you to grow and blossom into who you're supposed to be and follow your purpose. I think a lot of us just kind of like go through life, and you can kind of tell your environment's not what it needs to be. So if you're in a place where you can change that, man, definitely change it for the better you. Blossom. One love.
There it is, y'all. It's been Catch You on the Rebound. One more time, man. Y'all make some noise for my boy James Sharpe. Coming through, representing, man. I appreciate you, bro. Love you, Andrew Powell in the mix again. I appreciate you coming through, man. Hey. You got LJ. We out. It's a wrap.
You said an hour and 10 minutes. I said, what?